ransomware gangs are now cold calling their customers.
So, George, maybe you've heard about this stuff called ransomware. Apparently, it's a big thing. I understand they got some new tactics that they're using.
Yeah, so in case having all of your data encrypted on your network and just giving you the best weekend of your career wasn't enough stress, now you have now you'll have a call center that's contracted by the ransomware company calling you to remind you not only are your files encrypted, but if you keep attempting to roll back from that encryption or restore from a backup, they're going to charge you double or maybe triple, and your efforts are going to be fruitless, according to them. This was an interesting article that I saw on ZDNet, and what I found the most interesting is they actually kind of gave the Sentinel-1 product a little bit of a bump here, right? So they gave him a little bit of press, and maybe good or bad, but press is press, right? Regardless. In this case, so there was an organization that had some issues with ransomware, and they received what was a phone call from somebody being very kind, saying, "We've been monitoring your network, and we're noticing that you're installing the Sentinel-1 antivirus on all of your computers in an attempt to restore any files that were encrypted." It's hard to find out if this company was actually installing Sentinel-1, but I think this could just be one of these shots that the ransomware company is taking, saying, "Hey, we know this is a popular product, right? It's up and coming. Sentinel-1 has always been in the market to battle ransomware. They're very public about it, so it could be that they're just using it, assuming that they're probably going to install that, right?" But they're saying that's a useless tactic, and they're saying if you want, you should stop wasting your time recovering your data this way, and just give us a call, and we can help you get it back. Otherwise, your problems will never end. In other words, we're in your network, we're watching what you do, and a lot of the time this is not true. It's just an extortion tactic that they're going to use. So they're just going to try to find contacts within companies that they have distributed the ransomware and hope that somebody bites. And somebody's going to bite, because that's just the nature of the world. There's so many organizations out there that essentially they're going to bite. It works if they're doing it. But the fact that they're using they're including the names of applications that people typically run, it might scare some people, right? Because again, Sentinel-1 has been known to have one of the better behavioral indicators out there to pick up ransomware and to restore based on a post-ransomware attack. They do have that ability, but installing it after the fact won't bring back your data. Will just prevent it from happening again. But yeah, it's apparently, from what I was reading in the article, the same call center that's initiating the negotiation between the customer is also doing the extortion phone calls, as well as offering ransomware as a service to anybody who feels like they want to use it as a service. So there's this business model now that's grown around ransomware that is not going away. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. It seems to be an offshore service, as people were saying that when they interacted with these callers, they seem to have a very, very heavy accent, indicating English was not their first language. But needless to say, it will be very hard to kind of clamp down on these call centers, because for all we know, they could be the same ones, acting as a help desk for a piece of software that you own, right? They're just reading a script in front of them, and we really don't know. It's tough to say, but I found this article intriguing, considering that they're throwing in software that you would probably install on your machine to help with the infection or prevent the future infection.
It's very interesting that they're using the same types of cold reading techniques that you would see, somebody who was purporting to be a psychic read, right? Because if you think about it, there's, about half a dozen major players in the top couple upper right tiers of the Gartner quadrant or the Forrester wave that are going to fill that position, right?
Yeah.
And so, you can get lucky. Even if they don't have that vantage point, you can say, hey, I know you're working with a service provider to recover your environment. Yeah, that's a pretty safe bet. That is a pretty safe bet, right? And these are the same techniques that, various people in various forms of confidence schemes have executed for, years untold. But as we look at the evolution of methods that are used to incite payment or incentivize payment inside of these victims, this is really interesting that they are, calling in and making direct solicitation attempts in that way. It'll be interesting to see how these continue to progress if they then progress to doing things like telephony denial of service or something along those lines, depending upon the nature of your business model, to where it's like, well, yeah, you can talk to us to fix your ransomware problem. And if you don't want to talk to us, well, we're just not going to let you talk to anybody else. That could be an interesting evolution depending upon, what they see. Another thing that we've seen some ransomware groups doing is actually going out and compromising Facebook ad accounts and then using compromised Facebook ad accounts to place ads claiming that you have been breached, which is really confusing because you basically have hacked two different companies. You've hacked one company that infected with ransomware and then another one to be able to spend their money buying ads outing the first company that you broke into, that they were actually hacked and are victim of ransomware. And so these things, as they become more and more public, have more of an impact to your, customer perception and things along those lines. But then you've got, the Office of Treasury getting involved here at the end of October, issuing a statement where they said, hey, you might run afoul of OFAC regulations if you pay and facilitate payments to individuals who are under, censure from the U.S. government, and ignorance of that really is no excuse. So now, even if you do want to pay that ransom, you need to coordinate it now with a government entity. It just becomes more and more untenable to not have a response strategy in place in advance, to have not invested the money to have a recovery method that is tried and true, that you have confidence in. Really just like the costs just keep going up.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, everybody should just assume that at one point in time, they're going to be facing this problem, whether or not they have a history of it, and just be ready for it. Because if you're not ready, it just seems to be more of a headache than just, you thought, just recovering your data was the problem. There's a lot more that's coming to it, but